Good morning. I want to welcome you to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast. Can't say I've done a morning podcast, I think, ever on this YouTube channel. I'm usually sleeping still, but happy to be
Man,
joined by credential NBA media member from Woodward Sports Network, Brandon Dent. Man, welcome back to the show. I don't think we've talked since the summer.
you see I'm uneasy right now. I had to put the hoodie on, I had to get blacked out. Bro, this was just that game last night, bro. Otherwise, I'm in a really good mood. Anytime I get to come on here and do some content with the man Anthony of Pistons Talk, you're a legend in this community. That's a good day.
Yeah, man. Last night's game was wild. I mean, maybe if they don't freaking chuck and miss so many shots. Like, I had to look at the shot attempts last night, and I was like, we had 122 shot attempts.
That's insane. That's insane, bro. Like when I saw that amount of shot attempts, but when you compare that to the amount of free throws that the Dallas Mavericks got, you understood. No, they're both playing at that same pace. It's just the Pistons, if you're not going to get those fouls, like the picture that's going viral right now is the one where Anthony Davis
Yeah.
is basically a book bag on Jalen Duren's back. If you're not getting those, he shot the ball. What's that going to be? That goes on your field goals. So when you look at the disparity of the field goals, it correlates, in my opinion, directly to the fact that when Dallas was missing those shots, they were foul, send them to the free throw line. When Detroit was getting fouled, they weren't calling it, and now it's going on as a field goal attempt rather than a free throw attempt. And that, to me, you keep compounding this thing. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's the frustration that's starting to boil over from multiple players. And I get it because the refs last night, they tried to take center stage. Even the time where, like, bro, we all saw you point at Cade with that ejection. And then all of a sudden, it was almost as if somebody must have pushed that button down at the NBA offices and was like, bro, he just got his jersey retired in his home. Like, what are you doing right now, bro? You got to reverse this. Put it on somebody else. But still, the end of the night with 3 technicals, the end of the night getting pummeled in terms of free throw attempts, and effectively one of the last shot attempts you take is Duren literally getting mauled. Nah, bro, I understand why JB Bickerstaff stepped to the podium the way he did and why I got my Black Force energy on this morning.
Yeah, I mean that game, like, you can say what you want about the officiating, but it seems that I think certain officials, last night it was John Goebel. I can't remember the other official, the one that I can't remember his name, but he was
Yeah,
the
John
one
Goble was
that
10
yeah. I'm trying to think of the official's name that blew the Tim Hardaway Jr. 3-pointer in the playoffs because
in the
he
playoffs.
yeah, he officiated a Pistons game recently and gave JB a tech and was just kind of on some BS. But it gets to a point where it's just like, I know JB fights for his guys, but it kind of seems like they have an agenda against him, and it kind of gets leaked out with the players. And it gets to a point, it's just like that's what he was kind of saying. It's just like, he comes into a game premeditated. Like, you're supposed to, call the game down the middle. And I think that's all he wants. It's like, if you're gonna call a foul for Dallas
He's
with
preaching right
contact,
now, y'all.
call the same type of foul with the Pistons with contact. And I think that's the issue, that not just the Pistons thing, but just across the NBA. I think a lot of NBA teams just want it called down the middle. And I think the officials have a very difficult job. It's easier said than done being up here talking on a podcast. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
when you're just watching these games sometimes, like I was watching a Rockets game against the Nuggets because I was like, that's must watch TV. And
Yes.
Udoka goes on the podium saying, "Yeah, so we got officials that are starstruck out here," and it's just like, it's not just a JB Bickerstaff thing. It's like
It's a league wide.
Chris Finch the other night. Um, they missed back-to-back fouls on the Wolves, and he drops the F bomb right in the ref's ear. He's like, "You just missed 2 effing calls. Like, what the hell's going on?" Like, officiating just this year as a whole has gotten worse because they're not letting players play through contact. Like, we don't want to watch games where an opposing team's
Yeah.
at the free throw line 40 times a game. It just ruins the flow of the game, personally.
And you know what? And it's not that they're not allowing teams to play through content. It's that it's so, like, as you put it, inconsistent. On one end, it'll be softer calls. On the other end, it'll be, nope, we're letting you guys play through it. And that is what's causing a lot of the frustrations. The first thing you always hear JB Bickerstaff do is like, all right, he's looking this way, right, with his team and his court in the play. As soon as they let something go, or no, they'll come back down this way, and now all of a sudden they're playing defense. They call the foul. You know what he does instantly? Turns right back around like, but you didn't call the same thing down there. That's what you see every single time. Is them goes back to the fact that, look, we ain't got no problem with playing physical. We have no problem with playing or how y'all want to call this thing. The issue is that you're not calling it the same way both ways. So you're allowing us. I was in the arena when K got punched in the face and they called foul on him.
Yeah.
Like, and in the next game, they put him on the jumbotron. He's at the free throw line just rocking. Black eye, bruising on his cheek, scratch on his neck, scratch on his arm, and he's just sitting there. And it's just like, and do you think when you looked at those 5 games before that he was getting free throw attempts? No, he wasn't. Pistons were still winning, which brings us to the biggest conundrum here. You brought up the New York Knicks, and I said this last night too. There is an agenda. I've talked to scouts, and we've heard it from the horse's mouth in JB Bickerstaff. There is some type of a, I don't know if you want to call it a bias or we're going in to make sure this team has it. But when they start to talk, because there's a reputation that precedes them. Look, haven't we seen Isaiah Stewart get suspended because of reputation? Joe Dumars put it in print. He put it in the letter. Hey, look, this is a reputation because of what he's done in the past. So they have this reputation, and now when the players who are equally as frustrated and rightfully frustrated are barking, these referees are coming in now with the shortest of whistles and just do. And this is a problem with the NBA. You can't have Adam Silver going to the front podium now saying, well, we see that, physicality is better for the game today. We see there being a shift. But then at the same time, you have this type of officiating going on that's affecting star players, superstar level players, good basketball products across the league. That is, I don't care when people say, oh, we can't blame the refs, because this is the other component. No matter how bad the call was, and even if they admitted it in the playoffs, did it change the result for the Pistons? No. When the Pistons won the championship in 2004, there was a lot of blown calls in this, but they were just better than everybody else. And I believe this Pistons team is growing to that. I think these types of things and these types of movements, you got a coach who's going to fight for you. So you guys just go out there and focus more on the playing. When Stu stepped to the podium last night, I'm glad that JB Bickerstaff's was about the referees. That's his job. Go out there and take them fines. But Stu stepped to the podium about what they could do better. You know what I mean? And then someone asked him about the frustration. And I think that that's appropriate too, for him to be able to share. Yeah, it's frustrating, but we got an X, Y, and Z. Because 2 free throws at the end of that game, it means different things. I'm not trying to crush them in that component, but you know how it's going to be in the playoffs. They're going to swallow the whistle. We've seen it already. So this team is going to have to be one, when you talk about maturity, that's the next step for them. This isn't something where it's like, oh man, no, this team is 21-6. They are cashing in on the expectations that they set for themselves. They said last year playoffs, they said this year, we got championship mindsets. We want to be competing, whether it's the Eastern Conference Championship or represent. These are things they stated. They've stepped out there and they are doing it. They put defense first, points in the paint first. These are the identities that they set for themselves. So I'm proud of them in that regard. Now, when you become the target with the circle on your back, now you have to understand how you're going to be able to play better. I remember this. I don't even want to give him no props. But LeBron James went through this stuff early in his career too with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The same type of stuff. They didn't necessarily get the calls that you saw LeBron get later in his career once he became champion LeBron, big 3 Hedo LeBron. Earlier in it, the Pistons were allowed to, stop his path for a little bit. And I remember saying, man, this isn't going to last forever. And when it changed, it changed. But he had to learn to play through it. Michael Jordan had to learn to play through it. We got a guy in Cade Cunningham and this young Detroit Pistons team right now, from an expectation standpoint, is proving what they can be. And I do believe this. If they can hurdle this is going to make them that much better for playoff time. This is one of those learning moments. They dropped the game that they shouldn't have, and the refs played, in my opinion, a really big role in that. Now, as you get better, you will become a team that can overcome even the least competent of referees. And that's where I'm hoping that they take this moment, it burns in them, and then they go and they try, in as much as they can, not to shoot themselves in the foot at all. And as much as they can to keep their emotions in check. Because that Asar ejection, that was crazy. I don't even understand why he got ejected or how. But when you give certain referees like that the opportunity, you know what they're going to do? They're going to take it. And that's what number 10 did. And right after you ejected Asar, you looked at the play. They had it on TV when they were going to timeout. And he just literally like walks in the Cade. I don't even understand that. You see Cade. Cade's back is to you. He just walks into him, kind of brushes him, turns around and just, J.B. Bickerstaff wasn't even saying nothing. He went out to get Cade. And so that's why even the broadcast, everybody, you can still look at social media posts. Everybody was like, Cade is gone? My man did this. And all of a sudden we come back from broadcast and Cade's warming up. The tech was on J.B. Bickerstaff. Bro, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like what is going on realistically? So that's one where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to crush them too much because I believe this is one of those learning moments, man. Like when you're working with people you mentor or you got interns and things of that nature, look, they run into something new that they haven't really encountered before. You train them up, and then next time it's like, go out there and crush it. And that's kind of where I'm at with the Pistons after a game like that because, you know, we saw Cade Cunningham go from not getting any foul calls, right? Like 3 years ago. Watch this. To not getting no foul calls last year. To still not getting no foul calls. But is he overcoming it now? Is he stronger? He came back stronger last season. So it didn't matter if they were going to give him foul calls. He was going to be an all-star and an all-NBA player anyway. And that is the makeup and identity of this team. Every great Pistons team has had to have that be their identity. They've had to overcome whatever the league was going to do. And what did the league do after? They always course correct and change the rules after the Pistons win. So that's where I'm kind of in this middle where it's like, dang, man, the refs cost them, but they're going to keep doing this, man. They just took the playoffs. They took a game 7 away from y'all. Y'all going to have to find a way to punch that in the face next time.
Yeah, I think it gets to a point where it's just like, obviously you are getting fouled, but I think one thing that this team has to understand is like not every official is going to ref you the same. And I think as you play, you understand which refs are going to call which fouls, right? Like, you know, John Goebel is very uptight. And you know that now. So when he does officiate a game with the Pistons again, which he will eventually, you know, it's going to be, you know, very tight whistled. You have to, you know, be mindful of what officials are reffing you. And obviously, players shouldn't have to do that, but it's just the game that we play in until AI takes over. I mean, they even have AI right now for freaking, I think goaltending or basketball interference. If the ball comes off the rim, which they completely missed a call in the fourth quarter when Anthony Davis did that, but we didn't have any challenges left, so
but it cost the Pistons though.
Yeah,
some weeks ago when Jalen Duren put back.
Yeah, I mean, like I get it. Like the officials are bad. I don't want to spend this whole podcast talking about the officials, but rightfully so. I think the league wide has to sit down with these officials and, you know, talk to them about. Yeah, we know this is a hard game to official night in and night out, but understand that the fans that are coming out to watch these games, they're not coming out to see you. They're coming out to see their favorite players. They don't want to see their favorite players get ejected. They don't want to see the game just have like 50, 60 free throws. Like the Blazers game a couple of weeks ago, I thought was probably one of the worst officiated games that I've seen before last night because it was just like free throw. I was like, no one wants to watch a free throw contest. Like, just let these guys play. If it gets a little bit too physical, sure, blow your whistle, but let these guys play basketball.
Oh, you preaching?
No, it's crazy. But I did want to start this podcast. I'm sure a lot of people saw this last night, or I should say yesterday. Now, this is a host in New York, and I just want to reference this by saying he's not a New York Knicks fan. He does cover a majority of New York sports, but this is what he had to say about the Detroit Pistons, and then I want us to react to it because I got a kick out of it.
It's not that they suck. It's that I don't buy their record and say, wow, they're 21-5. They're a powerhouse. They're a nice, good little basketball team. And I think they need another lesson before they get to the next level. Like last year, their lesson was losing to the Knicks in the first round. I don't know if they're ready to take the jump and knock the Knicks off and get to an NBA Finals. That's just me.
Look, I know Siakam.
And one last thing. Yeah. I don't trust J.B. Bickerstaff in a big spot.
That's fine, too. But I was going to say, I understand that Siakam had championship pedigree and Halliburton was a good player, although he had some of those games where he just didn't score. I mean, who really felt that way about the Pacers the last couple of years?
I think the Pacers played a brand of basketball that was very difficult for the Knicks to match up on. Like, I thought that their pace, no pun intended, made it a real challenge for them. I don't see that with Detroit.
Okay.
And I think what you're doing, and I respect it, is you're holding out hope as a hater. And trust me, I'd love to hold out hope. I'm just being honest with what I think about this basketball team. They're a good little team. They are not a major threat to the New York Knicks. And if you want to save that audio and use it against me, cool. I'm not scared.
So that was Evan Roberts, who does host a radio show for SNY New York. Now, listen, man, like everyone is entitled to their opinions, but like I honestly laughed out loud when I saw that. What's your reaction when you hear a radio host say that the Pistons have a good little team and they're not really a threat when they're the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference right now?
Look, I understand the shots people want to take at JB Bickerstaff because until you get it done, you haven't gotten it done. It's almost a Jared Goff conversation. So I can understand it, though I disagree with it. He's a coach's coach. This is a situation where he leaves a place where they say it was all him, and you see Cleveland is still trying to figure things out. So there's some things that aren't quite right with that statement, but I'll let that be. The components as it relates to the Pistons, can they make this jump? We just saw the Pistons win 31 games over 2 years, and they make that historic jump. They didn't even just land in the play-in. They literally peaked at 5th seed last year. And then they decided, well, it was like 4th seed, I think they might have peaked at, but 5th seed. And they decided, maybe it'd be better for us to play the matchup game. You know, they got Cade Cunningham, a little bit of low management towards the end of the season. They brought in Dennis Schroeder, and, you know, the rest was history. They got the matchup they wanted. And realistically, we talked about it already, a blown call probably, and mixed in with 2 absolute collapses at home by the Pistons, or 1 on the road, 1 at home by the Pistons. This thing was supposed to go to a game 7. No Isaiah Stewart either in that playoff series. The Pistons had owned the New York Knicks and Cade Cunningham, Madison Square Garden last year. I think Cade won 4 times at Madison Square Garden last year, 2 times in the regular season and 2 times in the playoffs. You can't talk to me about not being ready. Your home arena doesn't even do anything to the Pistons star. And that was when they had 1. Now you're talking about that star going to superstar and Jalen Duren becoming a star, and they still have the ability to go out there and make moves. But even as currently constructed, I believe what we're seeing is real because of these certain components. You look at the record against teams above 500, the Pistons are, I believe, 10-3. One of the best teams in the league at that stat. You look at defensive rating, 2nd. You look at points in the paint. They're, I believe, the top team. You look at the pick and roll efficiency, pick and roll points, lob connections. They're one of the top teams. So not only are they doing the things that were part of the foundation that helped them win and make this historic jump, this leap last year, but they've even added on to that now. That, to me, is what makes them very, very formidable in this East. They can lock up with anybody. People are starting to highlight, even who's talking about, man, Jaden Ivey's defense like that. Even him in his limited minutes. It's like, oh, we see improvements. This team has improved across the board defensively, physicality, and that, to me, is what's underpinning the 21-6 mixed with superstar power. That's not going away anytime soon. Like, when the playoffs start, Jalen Brunson and the Knicks are going to have to face the East's best defensive team. It's not like, how does it get easier facing a team that's going to defend you less? How does it get easier facing a team that doesn't have Cade Cunningham on it? How does it get easier facing a team in which you know Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart are going to work Karl Anthony Towns all game? And if there is any foul trouble, Paul Reed will come in there and side shot you to death. Like, it just is what it is. So I don't know. Like, when people say that, I just take it as it's until they do it, they're never going to give them that due, even though we kind of, you know, sit here and see the squad and see the makeup, see the pedigree, you know, getting into the numbers. Because even me, I asked the question on one of the pods are they a legit number 1 seed? And when you peel back the layers, you start to realize nobody's defending like them in this conference. Nobody. And that matters.
Yeah, like I did add context. I see someone saying, hello, Knicks fan here. Two things. One, Evan Roberts is a Nets fan. I did clarify that when we did play the clip. But here's the thing. Whether he's a Nets fan, Knicks fan, Philly fan, I really don't care. Like, the way that I took that comment is I look at the New York Knicks expectations and the Detroit Pistons expectations. I think both of them are in different spots. And I'm just talking in terms of organization. I'm not talking about fan bases. I think most fan bases want to win a championship. I think expectations with organizations, I think the Knicks, where they're at, the money that they're spending on their players, it's championship or bust for them because
100%.
they have a very expensive roster from Karl Anthony Towns to OG Anunoby to you just extended them Mikal Bridges. Like they have a very expensive roster and they're hoping to come out of the East and play in the NBA Finals. They were very close to beating. Capital. Yeah, they were very close to beating the Indiana Pacers in Eastern Conference Finals. So I understand from the Knicks fans' perspective of, you're not the number one seed in the East right now, and you're looking at a team in the Detroit Pistons that aren't in the apron. They have one player that's on a max contract deal, and then they have a bunch of young guys that are on rookie contracts still, but, that won't be the thing. From years on, like, Jalen Duren is extension eligible. Jaden Ivey is extension eligible. Like the Pistons are going to have to pay their players too. But the way I look at it is the Knicks and their fan base, they know like their window isn't as open and they won't have as much time to keep this core together as the Pistons currently could, just because of the way the CBA is, the aprons. We've seen how many owners just freak out with the aprons? I mean, the Celtics traded away Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday because they didn't want to go into the tax, right? So I think New York's window is a lot. It's more condensed than the Pistons is. Like the Pistons did a very good job of playing the Knicks in the first round. And the Knicks even credited the Pistons for their toughness. It prepared them for Boston the way they played. To say that they're a nice little team and kind of just like take out that was a 6-game series, could have been a 7-game series, depending if, the foul on, THJ actually went. You would have a 7-game
toughness without Stu in the series.
Yeah. I mean, I think both things can be true. The Knicks are a good basketball team and the Pistons are a good basketball team. You don't have to put one down to uplift the other, in my opinion. I mean, to me, I think the Pistons and the Knicks are the two best teams in the Eastern Conference right now. Cleveland has injuries. Orlando has injuries, but Orlando's a good team when healthy. Boston, obviously, with no Tatum. Boston is still a good team, but it's the Knicks and the Pistons right now. Like, those are the two teams that'll probably come out of the East.
You don't believe in Scotty Barnes?
I mean, the Raptors were rolling, but, once they lost RJ Barrett, they kind of, came back down to reality. But I think it's the Knicks and the Pistons, though. Like right now, like those are the two best teams in the Eastern Conference. But like I heard that, and that guy's a Nets fan, obviously, which is even more hilarious listening to that. Like you're a Nets fan, like you just drafted 5 guards, and you're talking about the Pistons. I get you do a New York sports radio show, but man, I just found it hilarious to listen to.
That is absolutely hilarious. And you make some great points there, man. I like the nuance and the context that you bring to the conversation, and highlighting the fact that the expectations are different. Not that you lower what the Detroit Pistons can be and what they can do. If you're the number 1 seed, I'm sorry, this is what the expectations are stating. Who wants to be a number 1 seed and then all of a sudden, you go into the playoffs and you flame out? Isn't this what we're literally kind of pointing the finger and laughing at Cleveland about? That's not what you want to be, especially if you're a Detroit Pistons team who these young players, you could tell they're serious about this, man. That to me, it's not just going in and say, oh yeah, we would have won a championship. It's like they're putting in the work. You see all of these young players starting to take those leaps. And you know what? Before it was that they needed, great role players around them, borderline stars around, all stars around them, to be able to take this leap. That hasn't happened. Think about it. And even though the vets and the role players we thought we wanted to bring back last year, Dennis Schroeder got paid to be a starter. Tim Hardaway went to a situation that best suited him at the time. And you look at the Malik Beasley situation, who is your prolific shooter on high volume, and they had to pivot and had to bring in players that not a lot of the fan base was too high on. That still didn't derail things. That's when you know you got something just a little bit more special. And I do believe, good on the Pistons for having this expectation for themselves to say we should be representing, or playing against or for the opportunity to go to the championship. We should be in the Eastern Conference Championship. Like, I applaud them for effectively striving for that and basically blocking all the noise. I think they're late to the party. When you look at some of the other rebuilds that have gone on, they've been led by the young players. People were so high on the Atlanta Hawks for a while because of Trae Young and some of the young players. They were high on Orlando Magic because of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. They were high on the Houston Rockets because of a litany from Alperen Sengun to Amin to others that they had drafted, even early on Jabari Smith. And with the Pistons, that unit just didn't quite get going in the same time frame that the others did. Now they're going, but it's almost as if, they took a sensu bean and it's like, they're back to full strength right now. And so that's what I believe is catching people off guard. That's what's catching them off guard. You got these young players who've come together now and they're leading the charge, and the Pistons haven't even done anything drastic around them yet.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think it's just the expectations with fan bases. Obviously, as fans, like we want our team to win a championship. I just see like a lot of Pistons and Knicks fans just at each other's throats every game on the timeline. And it's like, you know what? Like, it's a shame we don't play them until January, because I know those games are just going to be crazy. I'm surprised ESPN or any national television has not picked those games up yet. Don't know if I lost you, but your screen went black. I think we lost him for a couple of minutes, but until he does come back, I do see Rodney leave a comment in the live chat saying a guy from Brooklyn should not say anything about ball when his team got blown up by the Pistons at their house. Go Pistons from Flint down. I agree, Rodney. I mean, it's kind of funny that he is a Nets fan, and he decides that I'm going to talk about the Pistons on this podcast or on his radio show, and talking about like if he's a Knicks fan, he's not really worried about it. They're a nice little team. When you kind of look at just the strength of schedule with the Detroit Pistons right now, and the Pistons and the Knicks both have easy schedules in the Eastern Conference right now. Pistons are ranked 26th in strength of schedule. Knicks are ranked 22nd. So to say that, we've had an easy schedule, well, the Knicks have had an easy schedule as well. So I don't want to go in a back and forth with Knicks fans, because I know how they get. They're
bringing them receipts.
They're toxic.
I don't know if you heard my question, but, what is your expectation now? The Pistons are now through about a third of the season.
Mm-hmm.
What's the expectation for you for these Pistons, who currently sit as a number one seed? I know the New York Knicks have made some gains on them. I think they sit about a game and a half back. Is it Eastern Conference Finals? Is it just win a playoff series? What suffices for you and what you think their peak can be this year?
My expectations were probably pretty reserved coming into the season. I think the last time we talked, I said I think this is a 50-win basketball team, but my expectations was to win a playoff series. Yeah. Now, that might seem like just a really low goal, but I think the way that the East is shaping out right now, the Pistons are a good team, but I think they're flawed. I think they're flawed in the three-point shooting department. They're not the same three-point shooting team as they were last year. I've said it on multiple post-game podcasts. I said, I think if I'm Trajan, I'm looking at adding more three-point shooters on the roster. You saw last year with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley, it was a recipe that really worked. It complemented everyone on the roster, from Cade Cunningham to others. It opened up so many lanes and passing avenues. So for me,
less reliant even on foul calls. They punished the paint last night, And there was a whole lot of foul calls that went missing last night. The 3-point shooting, it actually helps you out in that regard because it's one shot up, one shot down, 3 points. Let's rock.
Yeah, but kind of getting back to your question, I think I would have to see what Trajan does at the deadline. If he doesn't do anything, he doesn't add 3-point shooting. He just kind of rewards these guys and lets them play out the season. I think my expectations would be like, let's see if you can win a playoff series. And if you do that, cool. And maybe he addresses something in the summer. But if he rewards them like he did last year and he added like a Dennis Schroeder type, not saying he's going to go get a backup point guard, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. Like if you go
a player
out
that can have an impact.
Yeah, have like an impact player that doesn't take away from the starters or the young guys, that they can come in and be a good vet. Then I think my expectations kind of go in a different direction. I think the way the East is set up right now, it wouldn't surprise me if this team is playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, just because the way the East is kind of it's competitive. I'm not trying to downplay it, but like when you talk about the top teams in the East, like if they get matched up with the Miami Heat in the first round, let's just say, for example, I feel pretty confident they can, win that series. But it just depends, man, because if you keep that number one seed, you're most likely playing a team that's a lower seeded team that you've beaten a couple of times in the regular season. But it just really depends how Trajan attacks the deadline. I don't expect him to do anything crazy, like a lot of national outlets think the Pistons need to do because they think the East is wide open. But just depends like what he does at the deadline, I guess.
Yeah, I don't expect him to do anything crazy either. In terms of how much encumbrance he's going to take back, unless it's just a can't miss deal. But the thing that I have liked about Trajan Langdon's kind of now short tenure here in Detroit is the fact that he hasn't needed to make waves. He hasn't needed to throw like big rocks to make big waves. When you look at Malik Beasley, I don't know if people believe, hey, this guy's going to come here and almost double his 3-point attempts per game and hit over 40% from behind the arc and give you hustle and really be a whole aspect, a part of this culture shift and vibe change here with the Detroit Pistons. Tim Hardaway, I don't think people are expecting. If people go back to the beginning of last year, I remember he talked about, hey, look, man, I'm going to come here and take charges, man. This is what I do. Led the Pistons in charges. And in the beginning of the season, he, along with Jaden Ivey, were two of the players who helped to carry them offensively when they had no rhythm. And so it's like you look at this year when he had to go and pivot, and you look at last trade deadline when he got Schroeder for basically free. This front office is set up and equipped. You talked about those other teams that are kind of fumbling and bumbling through the CBA and the second apron and all that. This front office is not. It's almost like they're sitting back targeting and identifying things that they can just like to scoop up Dennis Schroeder the way that they did, and it being effectively for that step in the process the most perfect piece that you could have added. It was like he came here and hit some threes a little bit. He was playing the backup facilitation. He was clutch. He was able to score on ISO. He was able to play within the team sets. He was cutting to the rim. He was finding and dropping dimes. It was perfect for that time. And so I do expect now that Trajan Langdon has kind of set this down through 2 off seasons and a trade deadline, I expect him to go, and if it's not something big, to go out there and find something impactful. 3-point shooting is something I think that they need. Sometimes I hear people talk about the fact that they might need backup size, because when Jalen Duren comes out the game, you're losing a lot of height and a lot of size, a lot of stature. Even though we know Isaiah Stewart plays, bigger than his own stature, sometimes that can come into play, especially if he gets in foul trouble or if he misses time. And so for me personally, I'm hoping if there's an opportunity to add some reliable size, with shooting being the main priority, that's what I'm hoping Trajan Langdon can do this trade deadline. Because you're right. You talk about what could trip up this team. Well, what tripped them up last year? If we want to remove the referees from the equation, what do we land at? Their shooting was putrid. What they could rely on in the regular season, which made them a pretty hot team during several stretches of last season, they couldn't rely on in the playoffs. And so that's why, we talk about referees not calling, calls, defenses packing in the lane, defense. Well, that's because we don't think that anybody else is going to do anything. We don't think the refs going to do anything, and we don't think that your team going to do anything. And so I do believe that is very, very crucial for this squad to continue to add players that can be floor spacers, that can make defenses play more honest. You got teams running zone out there. And even though I get Isaiah Stewart's point. Man, this is weak. It's like, but they're telling y'all we don't think y'all can shoot. So
yeah. Like I said, it's a situation where I think when I look at this team, I don't really feel like they're that far off from being, favorites out of the East for years to come. And I think the fan base expectations and the front office expectations, as I've gotten into this multiple times, they're completely different. They're not on the same path. Like I see a lot of people in the live chat right now mention, whether it's on Twitter, Mr. Detroit has mentioned Michael Porter Jr., Lauri Markkanen, and Trey Murphy. We even got West 7 Mile mentioning, the same players. Like, I think with all those players, and I want to touch on this, I think all of them fit what the Pistons need, and that's kind of like that secondary scoring option, because right now they really don't have it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jalen Duren has kind of filled into that secondary scoring role for the Pistons this season. But I think where the fans are at is like they're like, okay, Cade's our guy. Cade's our all-star. Like he's the engine that makes everything move. When is it time for this organization to put their chips in and get that number 2 guy? I would say everything that we've heard, I think everything that we've heard from this front office is, it's not that they're not willing to, try to push their chips in for that number 2 option, but they want to be mindful where they're not just scratching off a lottery card. And when they scratch the lottery card off, they lose it. They want to make sure, like, if I'm giving you multiple picks, maybe a young guy or 2, it's not going to come back to bite us in the ass. And I think, in years past in different regimes, we've seen that before where the Pistons have given up on a young talent and it comes back to bite them in the ass. I think in the back of mind as a Piston fan, that's what I think of. Obviously, the players that we gave up, like a Chris Middleton. Yeah. I mean, I don't really think anyone knew that, Chris Middleton was going to turn into something like that. The Spencer Dinwiddie.
I knew he was. No, I'm just playing. I didn't know.
Yeah, like I get it, but like, kind of circling back to like those players, I think all those players have different asking prices. I will say, I don't think Lauri Markkanen is going to get dealt. You have to understand who the general manager is, right? You have to understand what Danny Ainge has done in trades. He said, yeah, you want Lauri, give us a Sar Thompson, give us multiple draft picks and we can start a conversation. Like it's not going to come cheap. And it just kind of, it goes back to the fan base. And the question you have to ask yourself is, how much are you willing to pay for a secondary option? Some fans are, they might say, F them picks,
man.
Go for it. The East is wide open. Why not? And I see other fans, they want to be cautious. They kind of point to, the Oklahoma City Thunder approach where, they could have drafted or traded their draft picks. So they had multiple draft picks and go get those stars that are in every trade rumor every other year. But they kept building through the draft. They made savvy moves. Obviously, the Paul George trade was probably too good to pass up. And they actually might get a lottery pick out of it this year, which is ironically hilarious.
Insane.
But like you just kind of look how they've built in the draft and they found value in the draft each and every year. I think that would be my approach. Not to say that you can't go get a secondary option and maybe trade, some players on your roster. I think there will be some players out there that aren't going to have the asking price of a Lauri Markkanen. I mean, there are players like Trey Murphy out there. There are players like Michael Porter Jr. that I know a lot of Pistons fans have mentioned. I mean, there are options out there. I think it just really depends on what Trajan Langdon wants to do outside of this season. And I think sometimes Pistons fans have tunnel vision because they're just focused on this season. What does this team look like financially if you do make a swing for a Michael Porter Jr. who's on a big deal? What does this team look like, cap space wise or, draft pick wise if you do trade for Trey Murphy? Because it's not going to come cheap. I think those are the questions you have to ask yourself in the long term.
I mean, you're preaching right now. And when you ask yourself, do they need to get that secondary score? Yes. When? I don't know. I think it depends on what they believe they can achieve this year. Because you do make a great point. But when you look at the effects of one Dennis Jenkins, who is consistent with it, but when he's on, that's when you realize, dag, they need a little bit more. Same thing we saw when Jaden Ivey at the beginning of last year was on. It was like, that's what we've needed. So it would be nice if Trajan could do that, because that comeback last night by the Pistons, it was spurred during the Dennis Jenkins, Marcus Sasser minutes. Paul Reed was in the game as well. And it was Dennis Jenkins just absolutely going to work. The problem is, as defenses in the NBA continues to adjust to him, you notice there be some inconsistencies in how much he's able to actually provide that. And so I don't know if the Pistons and Trajan Langdon, who's very, very cerebral, I wonder if, he doesn't even want certain clouds hanging over the players so they can just go out there and be all that they can be. Because we know this, that they got scouts and they got people listening to every single deal and looking at every potential player. So I know that they're doing their due diligence. I know that. But I believe the reason why we don't hear too much noise is because of what we hear from JB Bickerstaff. And it's true. They want to give these players as well the full space. If Dennis Jenkins proves to be something consistent, do you ride with that? I don't know. Because when you're talking about a championship, you look at our other sports teams here, the Lions and the Tigers had opportunities to push the chips in, and they didn't. They thought they had enough. They thought they could rely on certain things, and they made just marginal moves at best, and it left them just short. And so with the Pistons, that's the question that they're going to have to ask themselves is, do you believe Dennis Jenkins can become somebody who in these spurts when you need that secondary scorer can be that, even if he's not the starter? So he'll complement the fact that you're probably not getting 20 points, 18 points, 17 points a night from Asar. Can Dennis Jenkins go out there and give you 14, 15, 16 combined with Asar? Because those are things that I believe are if you think you can hedge that, you kick that can down the road a little bit further, and then be able to strike big, maybe in the offseason during that little stretch where people haven't locked in the contracts of the rookies and all that type of stuff. So, I don't know, man. It's a tough one there because the thinking the way that they do things, I don't expect there to be anything big. I just don't. I expect it to be something in terms of financial impact, marginal, but in terms of impact to the roster, it could be big. Dennis Schroeder was big impact to the roster. Malik Beasley was a big impact to the roster, but both of them were minimal financial impact. So, I think that they're going to look for that first before they go out there and take a big, big swing and break apart the trajectory that they have currently with their assets in-house, both draft capital and players.
Yeah, like I just want to say this because just conversations I've had in private, the Pistons have gotten offers from other teams for their star players, for our star players, and they haven't accepted those trades in years past. I'm not going to name who the players are, but I have heard, talking to reporters like yourself off the record and private, like there have been other teams that have asked about Cade Cunningham's availability. They have asked about Jalen Duren's availability. Like conversations are had every day, especially with trading deadline as we get closer to February. They're just going to intensify. It's not that the Pistons are just sitting on their hands and not doing anything. Just understand that they are going to make sure that they don't make a Nico Harrison type move where they just trade their franchise player for an aging top 75 player who we saw last night was really struggling until the fourth quarter. Like Isaiah Stewart was doing a really good job of, keeping them in check. But I mean, understand that Trajan Langdon came from the Spurs organization. He learned under RC Buford. He learned under Coach K. He was with the Spurs when they were winning championships. So I just think like he will make the move that makes the most sense for this team outside of this season. I think a lot of fans just get the tunnel vision. They just want that shiny new toy. They want that big move. Like a big move will eventually come. I just don't think it's going to be right now. I could be wrong because different players become available. It just depends on like what these teams want to do. But, as of right now, we're recording this on December 19th. I just don't really see them cashing in and trading multiple first and young guys for, a guy that's on an inflated contract making $50 million. That's just me. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't see that happening right now either. Like if it's the right deal and you think this pushes us to a championship, you do it. And you take whatever's on the other end of that deal, you take that at that point in time. But if you just look at the New York Knicks, who are now, they are pushed, whether they're ready or not, into a championship or bust mode, it's because they gutted their financial outlook for the future. It's because they gutted their draft capital in acquiring a Mikal Bridges. And I remember Josh Hart was asked that this offseason. He was like, look, man, we don't care about any of these picks. He's brought here to help us win a championship. He's that type of player, blah, 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 blah. Well, y'all better do it because you have leveraged everything. You've even let other players walk straight through your fingers in a Jalen Durham. You know, there's things that there's young players they've sacrificed along the way too to be able to try and put a championship level roster out there. You look at the capital that has to go out to get a Karl Anthony Towns. You know, so that's what I'm saying. And guess what? Most Pistons fans think that as currently constructed, these Pistons are better than those Knicks. So it's like when you talk about going out there and taking that big swing, I've appreciated the fact that the little swings, you know, quote unquote, the little swings that Trajan has taken so far, they've had big impacts, man. And that's what I'm looking at. If Trajan can find a way to give me a Trey Murphy, oh my word, bro. Like Kool-Aid, I'm gonna be on one. Start the stream, send me the link, bro, because I'm gonna be on one. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be ecstatic. But if it is Larry Marketing and Asar Thompson's going out of here with multiple draft picks and like 2 or 3 players out of our bench and probably Tobias Harris, I'm sitting here like, whoa, man, that's our identity. Like, so Laurie is strapping up now, full court. Larry Marketing gonna be diving on the floor now. I know that boy can score with the best of them, but he's not getting the same usage here that he's getting in Utah, where he can walk in that room and everybody knows, hand him the ball, period. Like, so it's like, it's different. It's different when you talk about coming here and having to fit in with a team that already has leaders, that already has a culture, that plays defense, that likes physicality, that touches the paint. You know what I mean? It's just a little bit different. So I do believe in Trajan Langdon in this front office. They have proven that they can operate in this new NBA. And I think that they will do something. I just believe that it's going to be one of those moves that we've seen them make before. Yep.
Yeah, same here. I know we kind of went down the trade.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Okay. No, we kind of went down the trade route rabbit hole, you guys. I do see some comments about just trades in general with players. I know there's a lot of disagreement amongst fans of like whether to go for it, whether or not. I do see Devon has a couple of comments that I do want to put on the screen saying take the Pacers route / Pascal Siakam route or the OKC iHeart route, which I think there are multiple ways to have success in the NBA. I don't think there's a right way. I think the Pacers did a very good job of identifying talent, did a very good job of identifying who they wanted in Pascal Siakam. And it was a pretty solid trade. I mean, did they have to give up some draft picks? Sure, but understanding that Pascal Siakam was probably the second best player on that championship team behind Kawhi Leonard. He was very impactful. And you saw in the Eastern Conference Finals run and making it the NBA Finals run how important a Pascal Siakam is. I don't really see a Pascal Siakam type of star out there right now. I just don't. But I think the OKC iHeart route is another route you can take to eventually try to, cement yourself to, making the NBA Finals and giving yourself a chance to, win a title eventually. Do want to get into a couple more topics, and then we'll probably wrap this podcast up because I know you do have to do a show later.
Shout out Brandon Edwards and Matt Shepard. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I almost said Ryan Armani by just mistake because it's like I literally I was just like, oh, let me watch Braylon. I was like, oh, is that Matt Shepard? Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Cool. But
hey,
shout out,
man. 2 to 4 every day. Woodward Sports. Brandon and Shep. It's dope.
Usually I'm working during that time, and the last 3 times I've clicked on a live stream with Easy and Spencer. I clicked off yesterday's because I was like, bro, what? So I'm thinking they're talking about sports, and I click in, and it's just like they're reading live chat viewers of this guy saying, yeah, I heard my mom's waterbed just swish. I was like, yeah, I'm clicking off this because I know what rabbit hole it's going down.
Bro, I'm telling you, dog, the heavyweights are an extravaganza. It is entertainment. It's what you need in your life, man. I love them boys though.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, they're hilarious. Anytime I watch their shit, anytime I watch their shit, I was like, bro, like, what the hell is going on?
I'm telling you, I just be tapping in sometimes, just lurking. I don't even be commenting. I just be cracking up, man. Easy as a jokester, man. I love Spendy's passion and fire, bro. It's crazy. Then shout out to the booth, man. I gotta say shout out to Platty and Nick Koloff too. So all good people, man. Diehard Pistons fans too.
I don't know if you saw, and we'll get back to the podcast in a minute. But I think it was during the summer. And Easy just drank some alcohol. He just drank it down the hatch. And then he's like, "Can someone drive me home?" Because he just, I don't know what kind of alcohol it was. Someone in the live chat donated like $500 for him to do it, and he did it. And I was like, "Bro, what the hell is going on?"
Bro, they had the most legendary stream ever, man. Their heavyweight streamathon or subathon was absolutely insane, and they went live for almost, I think, over 48 hours. It was insane, man. They started on a Friday night. Ended on like a Sunday night, either Saturday night or Sunday night. I forget how many hours it was, but they went for a very long time, and the people supported them. And that's what I mean. Like, entertainment, straight up, man. They literally are for the people. And I'm telling them, bros, man, don't hurt yourselves. Please don't hurt yourselves. Because, behind the scenes, as you know, they're all good people. Easy, early on, man, brought us all together, really, on his Speakeasy podcast. I think Everything King, you, Easy, and myself. So I'm always appreciative of him for that, man. That was the first time I sat on those desks at Woodward Sports. It was Easy and alongside you, and that's where things grew, and we were able to host the draft show. Got to get down with Rashad Phillips, Rod Beard, Vince Ellis. I think Kuka Hill might have joined. We had some fun, man. It was fire.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. So you had a tweet the other day about how the Detroit Pistons are must-watch TV. They should be your League Pass team. I happen to be scrolling through my LinkedIn, funny enough, and I see an article written by the Sports Business Journal. And they were talking about the RSN feeds, or the regional sports network feeds. And the Detroit Pistons lead the entire NBA in audience viewership. So they're up 97% from last season.
Dang.
Are you surprised that the Detroit Pistons are must-watch TV, and they've had such growth of, going up 97% in TV audience, being a top 10 team in the NBA in attendance?
That's insane, because usually it's like, you know what? This team has been terrible. They've been trash. Wake me up in the playoffs. Similar to Evan, right? Oh, cute little team. But instead, when I actually look around social media, I wind up getting surprised at some of the comments I see. And as I see, this is more of the same, because people are actually saying, "No, man, bro, we rock with the Pistons." Like, I saw somebody like Draymond Green, or somebody was trying to be all tough or trying to mess with somebody and push somebody. He's like, "Oh, try that against the Pistons." And I commented like, "Oh my gosh, we back." When the Pistons are that standard again, that other fans are saying, "Oh no, they tough." No, Cade is dope, man. He's one of those ones. It's like nationally, people are buying into, I believe, what the Pistons are, or else they wouldn't be watching. They are a team with players to watch, with a fun brand of basketball, and they're doing it in a way that not a lot of other teams are doing it. Now, do we want them to make some more threes? Definitely. But they're still going out there and telling everybody, "Hey, we're going to outscore you in points in the paint. We're going to score at least 50 or 60 of our points in the paint. We're going to go out here and we're going to be, one of the best defensive teams in the league. And we're going to make it look good too. And oh, by the way, when we get our steals, we're throwing lobs up the court. You know what I mean? We're getting Cade Cunningham and running the lanes." So it's like, that's the type of stuff that I like about the team. Last year, Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren were the number one lob connection. This year, they are setting their sights on, and got to ask Jalen Duren that question at Media Day about, "Hey, look, last year you guys were lob connection kings. What are you looking to do in your connection this year to move that to the next level?" He said, "We want to be the top pick and roll connection, period. Lob should be something that we do in our sleep. But the pick and roll thing," and what do you see? Them going out there, and they start the season as the top one. I know that if you look at their pick and roll numbers, they're still some of the top and most efficient pick and roll combos out there, to the team to the point that other teams in the league are taking notice. So these numbers are microcosm that it's not just the teams who are doing a scouting report and circling the Pistons on this calendar anymore. Now it's the national audience who are tuning into the Pistons. Why? Because the limited national, TV appearances the Pistons have gotten, they've looked like a good team. And then when they're going out there and they're playing some of the teams that are over 500 and they're faring at 10-3, those other squads got to tap in. They got to. So, I think that this is boding very well for the Pistons. I think that these numbers, to me, they shocked me because I think that they're sooner. If this was post All-Star break and the Pistons were still like top 2, top 3 in the East, I would be like, cool, right on. People are paying attention. We got another All-Star in there. We got 2 of them down there this year. But this to happen right now, I think that is that's actually pretty awesome. It's surprising to me.
Shout out to the other 3% that have been diehard Pistons fans and watched, but being up 97%, bro, that's insane. Like,
That's insane.
when I read that, it's just like they lead the entire league in just audience right now from a year-to-year basis. Pretty sure the Red Wings are up 40% as well. So I mean, I've always said, like, when you put a good
it helps
product
to be number
on,
one.
yeah, that too. I've always said when you put a good product on the floor in the city of Detroit, I think it's one of the best sports cities. And I might be a little biased here. I mean, like, when the Lions hosted
stand
the
on business, Ant.
yeah.
Stand on say with your chest, bro. I agree with you. I'm getting fired up, man. Get me fired up, bro.
When the Lions hosted the NFL draft, they set a record for, I think, the most people in 3 days. Like, I've always said, like, you put a good product on the floor in terms of just the Pistons having a good team. Fans are going to show out. They're going to watch. They're going to be tuned in. Obviously, it's not the UPN days when you could watch the game for free. But the fact that people are still paying, $20 a month or, expensive cable packages to watch the team, I think it just goes to show you that the fans that are watching, I think there's a lot of similarities to former Pistons teams, and JB kind of touched on that when he was on FanDuel with Run It Back, talking about how he takes a little bit from the Bad Boys, takes a little bit from the Going to Work Pistons, and he kind of sprinkles in his own kind of spin on how he wants the Detroit Pistons to play tough, nose basketball. It's team basketball. Like, we saw it last night. Like, you had Marcus Sasser, Dennis Jenkins, Paul Reed scrapping, get you back. Get back into this game, man. Like,
in crucial moments in the game.
Yeah, like it just kind of shows you the depth. And I think, like, if you grew up a Piston fan, especially during the Going to Work era, or even the Bad Boy era, like, I think you can appreciate the way that they play basketball right now. You can appreciate that it's just, there's not like a superstar that's averaging 35. There's a guy that can step up on any given night, and you don't really know who's going to step up and be that guy. Like, last night, I thought it was going to be Asar Thompson because he had like 8 points in it seemed like 10 minutes. But, like, I did not expect kind of like the hustle unit to get them back into the game. I mean, they were down 18 and they got back into the game because of their hustle, their defense,
hey, the
just their
nasty
activity.
boys.
Oh, God. I cannot call another man a nasty boy and look him in the eye without laughing.
I'll be in a press conference, be like, hey, Dennis Jenkins, how does it feel to be a nasty boy, as your coach called you? Because I can't look him in the eyes and say that seriously. Oh, dog. But I get it, though. I get it, man. You look at this squad, and some of the things you're talking about as it relates to those guys is the reason why I'm a little sometimes apprehensive about, do you gut this team in the middle of a trade? People are tuning in to watch this squad, and guess what? They're passing the test right now. I think that that's worth something. I really do, but I get it. We just saw a couple other teams, like I said, I'm going to continue to use that as the counter argument, who believed in what they had, and it left them just a little bit short. But this is the one conundrum, though. Man, I might get myself in trouble here. I think now there's a Terry Scoobel. So Terry Scoobel will be number one. I think right behind him is a Kay Cunningham in terms of your top athletes in Detroit. Now, in terms of being able to have an impact to be a ceiling raiser for a team, I think Kay Cunningham right now is that number one athlete. Scoobel goes out every 5 days, and we know in the playoffs you could pitch him on short rest. He can give you an opportunity, but the last couple postseasons, that hasn't been the formula for us. And so with Kay Cunningham, I actually do believe he's the type of guy that can help you. When you have a team that is showing that they could probably win a playoff series this year, He's the type of guy that could probably get you to the Eastern Conference too. And that's where a lot of my belief comes in to even the Pistons this year, being able to play for the chance to represent the East in the championship. And it's because they got a ceiling raiser like that. And it's like he doesn't have to go out there and score 35 a night. Most nights he's coming out and by the end of the first quarter, he got like 4, 5, 6 assists. And we're saying, what's going to happen? Look, wait, the third or fourth quarter, that boy going to get busy. He leads the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. And so that he's the reason why, in my opinion, I think that they have this opportunity to go to the top. When you talk about people tuning in, you get to see one of the league's best. I'm not even going to sit here and say one of the league's best, brightest, and youngest players. No, he's just one of the league's best players. I get the top 25 and 25. This guy's about to be probably top 5 MVP. He was tied for 7th in the MVP conversation, MVP race last year. Think about that. He's only going up from here. He was all NBA 13. So, I look forward to it, and I like the fact that the rest of this team, just the way that they play, man, they all kind of play with this sense of belief. I look at Dennis Jenkins. You saw him walking off the court during that stretch, and he was at home too, bro. Like, shout out to him. Him and Kay getting their jerseys retired and going to their high schools and such. You could tell, like, he believes in himself. He really believes in himself. And he's going out there and proving it on the court. But that's what I'm saying. Like, this whole team is kind of like that. Like, they're just playing like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And I'm sitting there like, they're going to do that too. I've heard teams in the past talk. When Stanley Johnson talked about he was in LeBron James' head, I was just like, you said that out loud. But I promise you, for Sar Thompson, said, like, yeah, I think I'm you think I'm affecting or Jalen Brunson to some degree. I would be like, yeah, he is. Because I believe in his team, and they believe in themselves, man. Like, this is a team that will short circuit if you ask him, what do you do in your free time? I saw Sar Thompson sit there struggling, like, I just told y'all all I do is hoop. I go, it was funny. It was like, I come home for practice, and I chill, and I just get my shoes, and I go to the outdoor court. This is rookie year. We were like, that's all. That's what you do? Yeah. And sometimes I'm in the weight room. And then I spend time with family. I'm like, Hooper Supremo. This team is working for this. This team, they believe in this type of stuff. And I'm excited, man, from the leader all the way down to, we talk about players like Dennis, or is it Danis Jenkins? I heard George all night saying it was Danis.
Danis, yeah. Like, I was calling him Danis, and then my subscribers told me I was saying it wrong. And then I started calling him I don't even know. I'm just gonna start calling him DJ.
Call him whatever George call him.
I'm calling him DJ at this point. I've butchered the man's name enough at this point. We're just calling him DJ from here on out, man. Like, apologize to the Jenkins family if we've been mispronouncing his name. So we never got clarification how to say his name. It's not like it's like a Giannis name. It should be pretty easy to like pronounce, but man,
I covered his first summer league, man. I was there and no one told me I was saying it wrong if I was. I mean, even Jamel McMillan, head coach of the Motor City Cruise, and he also was, obviously coach of Dennis. He called him Dennis. So I was all right. I guess that's what I'm gonna call him.
Oh, that's hilarious that the coach, he didn't correct the coach. He's probably like, yeah, I'm not about to correct the coach right now. You can call me whatever the hell you want. But
that's true. My coach called me Foots in college because I was 6 foot, but I had the biggest shoe size on the team, even though we had guys that were like 6'8", 6'10". So they called me Foots. So I was like, all right, thank you, coach.
That's hilarious. So last night we saw Duncan Robinson get injured. Jaden Ivey's been on a minute restriction. If Duncan Robinson is out for some time, who do you think gets that starting shooting guard nod?
The player they've put there before, and they let Dennis Jenkins start some. I think they're comfortable with him. If Jaden Ivey is still in a minutes restriction, I think that's the route you go with for at least right now, or at least the route I think they would go with. Do I kind of like selfishly want to just see Jaden Ivey kind of get that spot and work through some things? Sure. But what we've seen the Pistons do this year is throw a Dennis Jenkins in there. And I could see them doing that again. He proved he can handle starter minutes. He proves he can score kind of an ISO and be that secondary facilitator. And if they double off of Cade, Dennis Jenkins, he is a heat-seeking missile, man. As soon as get the ball. If he's open, he's like, oh, I'm scoring this. Like, but he's also shown that proficiency to be able to pass too. I've seen him come out in some games when he started in place of Cade even this year, and he went to facilitation mode before he was looking for his own. I was like, yo, he has that natural feel of a facilitating guard more so than Sasser, who I think is just more of a scoring combo guard. Marcus Sasser. Dennis Jenkins to me is it wrong to say kind of a better, or let me just say similar to Dennis Schroeder?
I think this season, because Dennis has had a horrendous start. I'm pretty sure he lost
Dennis Jenkins compared to last year's Schroeder. Like I'm seeing that with a little bit more fire and gusto.
I think he's playing the Dennis Schroeder role. Because it's like there'll be times where he will bring the ball up the court and Cade will play off ball and he'll initiate. He was doing it last night, where he's just leading, whether it's a second unit or if he's out there, sharing the backcourt with Cade. He just finds ways to be effective. But we've also seen him play off ball and hit some pretty big jump shots. JB might just start him because Jaden Ivey is still kind of going through his minute restriction. I don't know when that is going to get lifted. We have seen him play anywhere from, I think he played 14 minutes. He's played 18 minutes. He's played 21 minutes. I think it just depends how he's feeling and how he's rehabbing. And I know a lot of fans just want to have him go out there and play 30 minutes. I don't know if he's going to go out there and play 30 minutes this year in 25. I don't
think the usage is there for him yet.
No, I don't think he's going to be lifted from a minute restriction in 2025. I think 2026, at the start of the new year in January, I think they might look to try to get him up to the mid 20s, 22 to 25 minutes a game, and slowly ease him up to the 30 minutes a game that he was almost averaging last season. But I think it's just the process with the medical staff and JB being very mindful of his minutes. I'd love to see him out there next to Cade Cunningham in the backcourt, because I think there's a lot of questions that I think this organization still wants answers with Jaden Ivey. But excuse me, I think he's looked actually pretty good in his short stints so far since coming back.
Yeah, I've appreciated the fact that he showed the ability to shoot at the beginning of last season, and I've seen stretches of him from this season where he's putting together good shooting nights from behind the arc. That's going to be very, very vital. You talk about what are the Pistons missing to start that season. He was over 40% shooting on high volume, and so if you can get someone who can come in here and on most nights, if he's putting up 5 threes, he's going to get you at least 2 of them in that starting lineup. That brilliant, awesome. And especially when you mix in the fact that you want to be able to loosen up and soften up the defenses, the compacted defenses and double teams and triple teams that they throw in that Cade and full court presses and such. When you get another player like that, not only are you able to run Jaden Ivey and his athleticism, but then when you start to go to the bench, guess what? You have players that can come in and do the same type of thing, and Dennis Jenkins and others. And so it makes me wonder, though, do we see is there an opportunity or is there a possibility that he goes with maybe a Ron Holland or Karis LeVert, even though they're not necessarily traditional twos? Does he go with one of those players? Karis LeVert, we understand the ISO ability that he has, the facilitation, ball handling. JB Bickerstaff is high on him. Or does he continue to use him off the bench the way he has? Or Ron Holland has actually gotten those spot starts this year too, a couple times this season. So I feel like the easy answer is Danis, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw him sneak a Ron or a Karis. But if you're going offense, a guy who can go and get his own, I feel like that's Karis can, but I don't know, man. I'm more bullish on Danis for some reason.
It's kind of funny, and I know this player doesn't get a whole lot of playing time, and he got recalled to the G League. But I'm just thinking, like, Chaz Lanier just went down Orlando for the G League showcase that they have every December. I'm sure his phone probably rang last night, like, yo, play your game, but you're going to be on the road trip with us on this West Coast trip if Duncan is out for some time, because, like, obviously, they have a lot of guard depth, but I don't really think Karis next to Cade would make a whole lot of sense. It would be too much isolations, in my opinion. I think Karis is better suited off the bench. And it gets to a point where it's just like, I was kind of cringing last night when like we subbed DJ out and then we put Karras in. I was like, oh please, just make a shot, please. Because there are times where like his shot diet, I think, bothers me sometimes because he just dribbles it so damn much, man. I'm just getting to the point. It's just like, just pass the ball, please. You've been dribbling it for 15 seconds.
Dribbles and then it end in like a turnaround fadeaway shot, and it's just like, no. I get that, and that's why I told you I feel like Dennis would be the fit. That's who I believe plays very, very well. He can facilitate. He doesn't need heavy usage, and he can take advantage of the space that's created from Cade Cunningham gravity, double and triple teams. And you know what? He's not afraid to shoot the three either. You know, whether he's hitting it or not, I like a player that's just kind of playing within rhythm. Because that type of player, he may miss a three next time, but next time he gets it, what will Dennis do? Pump fake and find a way into the middle. Like he's just kind of always with his pedal like to the metal type of player. And that to me is what I like about Dennis Jenkins. And he can do that with skill set. You know, he's a lot more polished. And I get it. It's because he's older too. You know, he got some years on him. And that's what probably contributed to him going undrafted more so than anything. People in the first round are taking chances on, you know, high potential, probably young project type players more than anything. And you get to the second round is when you're probably starting to see more of your upperclassmen that are going to be drafted if you're taking one of those. And now it's giving you an opportunity to see players like Chaz Lanier and Dennis Jenkins be on these rosters. And you know, so I'm hoping it's a Dennis, but with Chaz, he's a specialist. You know, I feel like players like that, they need the reps with that team. You know, and if you believe in his ability to knock down the shot, I say why not find a way to get him, you know, 8 to 12 minutes a game. And his job is if you get the ball and you got any type of daylight, take the shot so that Cade can learn in the course of a game. I get it in practice with you, but in the course of a game, they're guarding and defending you differently. And there are certain ways that you gain chemistry with players through that. If Chaz is not out there playing with them, I don't know how he gains that in-game chemistry. It's different than the practice stuff. It's different than the out of real game stuff. And that's what I'm hoping. Like if he's up to par defensively, hustle-wise, and all of that, I don't know why you don't just run him out there knowing that he's a specialist. This isn't just he's our young drafted player. You know, he has potential. No, this is a guy who can go out there and if he's hot, he can hit everything, bro, everything. And so that's why I'm like, it would be nice to see for a squad that has some 3-point issues or woes this year to see. But I'm not putting, obviously, the hope in. It's just, it would be nice to see, can he go out there and be a guy that can get you 33% in some hustle and then on some nights peak to that 40% from behind the arc. I think he can be that type of a guy.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 G League games he had last week, this man was not looking the pass. Did you see his stats? It was 31 points a game,
bro. Straight hibachi.
I think he was shooting 70% from the field, and he averaged 1 assist. He was on some Kobe shit. He was not passing the ball. In the G League, he was his scoring. I think his first G League game, he dropped 40. And I was like, yeah, man. Like, I think practicing with the team every day, he sees what real NBA action is. And no disrespect to the G League, but I mean, if you've covered it, you've watched the G League at any level, the defense in the G League is way different than the defense in the NBA. Like, there are times where the guys just do not defend in the G League.
A lot of players out of position in the G League all the time. Like players that look like, oh shoot, oh he caught back door. Like you see that a lot.
Yeah. My only thing, I'm not calling for Chaz Lanier to start, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, no, not start, but just get some minutes.
As we get closer to this West Coast trip that the Pistons will be taking, starting on Monday. Wouldn't surprise me if he did get a call to travel with the team. Just depends on Duncan Robinson and his injury and how he's feeling because DJ probably doesn't get the start next to Cade Cunningham. And then you kind of get into Karis LeVert. Marcus Sasser will probably get more of an opportunity there, which, you know, he looks pretty good in his G League debut. Maybe you're looking for more of just his secondary scoring option and like him being impactful off the bench. But This team has so many guards, and it just gets to a point where it's just like, man, like the depth on this team is crazy, but you can really see the gravity in which Duncan Robinson really adds to this team.
That's why I said I want to see a little bit more size, in addition to 3-point shooting. And they tried to do that with the additions of Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson. Obviously, they're a little bit, and they talked about it, Trajan Lane, and said, hey, we got a little bit bigger with the additions of them over the vets that we lost last year. But I'm hoping they continue that trend where they can take care of the 3-point shooting, as well as make sure you bring in some size along that front court. I think that those two things will help to really bolster the Detroit Pistons, who right now are number 1 seed in Eastern Conference, number 2 defensive rated team in the league. You add to that, and I think you help yourself because, trust me, hitting shots helps your defense. Every coach will tell you that making your shots allows your defense to set. Otherwise, now you're backpedaling. Now you're playing off instinct. What if all your players aren't that good instinctually? I can tell you this: a lot of these young players we got are not good instinctually. I can look now and tell they're coached up right now, that the coach is helping put them in the right positions, and they're working too. But now all of a sudden you put them in an up and down type of a game. Yes, they can run and make shots, but who are they defensively when you start to put them in that type of backpedaling? Now all of a sudden, Cade's foul last night, the one that got on the first technical, was when they missed a shot on one end where he thought he should have gotten fouled on, and he raced back to play defense. He grabbed kind of Anthony Davis. I thought they should have let it go, but then the referee called it. It was like, come on, you can't do that. And what did K do? He looked at him. You could hear it. You gonna call that BS? That's the
I know.
You called that is? And the ref was like, blah. Well, not in that moment. He continued to argue, and then eventually that's what led to the technical foul on K Cunningham. But it was just like, goodness gracious, though. It was
I mean, I it's loud if it gets picked up on the TV. When I heard that,
you remember that, right?
I was crying. I think I recorded it on my phone and I posted it on Twitter. I was like, it's hilarious. There's one other position that I wanted to ask you, and then we could wrap this up. So,
yeah,
obviously Tobias Harris has been up and down. There's been games where he can't miss a shot, but he's had a couple of ankle sprains this year. Does it get to a point where you consider having Isaiah Stewart next to Jalen Duren in the front court, just because when they are out there together, it really works. Like, they really play bully ball. Stu has shown the ability to stretch the floor. I believe he's shooting close to 40% from 3 this year, or he is shooting 40% from 3. He's shown the ability to stretch out the defense. I mean, is that something you do explore, and maybe you have Tobias Harris come off your bench and just try to roll that double big out there?
You know what? At Media Day, we chuckled. Social media chuckled. Social media said, no, stop, no. When he said, oh, yeah, JB Beckerstaff told me, to pull off that 3-pointer again, so I'm going to dust that boy off this year. And we were like, then he comes into the season, and you see, JB Beckerstaff wouldn't have asked him that if he don't know his players. I love a coach that understands his personnel, understands what their ceilings could be. Because for this team to grow, I do think that you need minutes with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart out there, but that means that you also need someone who can be versatile defensively and offensively. Isaiah Stewart has fit that role perfectly. And, if Tobias continues down this path where it's not as consistent, not necessarily the same defensively, he's not all over the court the way Isaiah Stewart is, and he's not hitting the threes at the same rate, even though you can always do something different with your closing lineup. So if you just believe, hey, we want his back to the basket ability, his ability to score in that mid-range, that little turnaround in there at the end of the game, you can always throw Tobias in there. But for what we're seeing Isaiah Stewart be this year, you got one, he needs the minutes if you can afford it health-wise. And then 2, the impact that he and Duren are having together is, we see it this year. Like, this isn't the traditional double beef lineup anymore. This is one where Isaiah Stewart is effectively stretching the floor from 3. This is one where Jalen Duren, instead of just having to be posted up in the paint, he literally had a play where he drove from the top of the key and dished it out to Isaiah Stewart for a 3. I forget which game it was, but he's had plays like that. So when your players aren't just reticent to the paint on defense and offense on either side, neither Duren or Isaiah Stewart, because Isaiah Stewart has taken a leap from beyond the arc, and Jalen Duren has taken a leap as it relates to being more versatile with his handles from all three areas, 3-point, mid-range, and in. No, I think that you can and you should explore playing them more. They look good in the starts they've had together too. I would look at doing it a little bit more, and I get it with the vet. You want to give him as much opportunity as possible as a leader. But I almost wonder if at this stage in the process and in the career, if he does play a little bit better off the bench with some of those players, if he is now more of a stabilizing force with, a Dennis Jenkins, Karis LeVert, and some of these other players that will be coming off the bench. I actually kind of like that fit at this stage. Last year's Tobias, no. You were setting a culture. He was teaching those boys the value of what they were going through and helping them understand the moment that they were in. You guys were a playoff team, even if y'all can't see it yet. This year, Cade Cunningham and all the boys, they got that. They know what they are.
Yeah.
So it's different now. And I think when you see what's working, we know coaches, especially at JB, they're going to give their vets their time. But I would not be surprised if eventually you see some type of a switch like that if they don't do something at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it because very early on in the first quarter, I don't know if you peeped this, but JB called a timeout. They were down 18-9, and he decides to have Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, and double bigs with Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren. And the Pistons go on a run and get close in the first quarter, and it was like a one-possession game. I think the defensive pressure that you would have with the double bigs at the rim and in the painted area, I think does give you an advantage. I think the only thing that I think kind of gets a little bit difficult is if you are going to have Asar out there, he's going to have to find ways to crash the glass like he was doing last night for putbacks, finding backdoor cuts, cutting to the lane, because I think at times when you do have double bigs out there, I think he doesn't really know if he should be standing in the corner, if I should cut. I love double bigs. I just think from a spacing perspective, sometimes it gets a little clunky. But I'm really interested to see what Isaiah Stewart's role is on this team in the long term. Obviously, we love him off the bench, being an elite rim protector, one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. I just kind of question, like, during a season, can he be durable enough to, play 25, 30 minutes for as hard as he plays? Because we all know, like, he plays 120% every possession. I think in the back of my mind, because I see a lot of fans ask, like, should Stu start? My only thing is, like, if you're playing him 25, 30 minutes a night and he's playing as hard as he does, the wear and the tear this guy just goes through, protecting the rim, crashing the glass. I think, his body will kind of tear down towards the end of the season. I mean, we saw
what happened last year.
Yeah, with his knee, like, he had knee inflammation really, really bad, and he was out for 2 weeks. And then he tried to give it a go in game 1 against the Knicks, and he just had no lift.
And that was on
whatsoever.
19 minutes a game 19 minutes per game last year. I asked JB Bickerstaff before that playoff series, like, hey, you reduced the minutes. You got, a lot of games played out of him, and you got his efficiency jumped across the board, including his defensive numbers. You ready to finally turn it up in the playoffs? He was like, we'll see. And it was effectively implied. He kind of smirked and walked off, implying that we about to turn up Stu. And so it was tough to see him get hurt after that. And that's what I said. Like, I'm hoping we see more minutes of Duren and Stu. But I almost feel like to keep Stu in a position to where you can get more consistently, you got to protect his health. Early on, it was bleak because it was both him and Jalen Duren that were getting injured. Jalen Duren's ankles were just a problem for a long time. And so I don't know, like, it's tough. We know we need Isaiah Stewart. I would love to be able to play him as many minutes as possible, but then the health component, as you brought up, is one of the main factors as to why he got 19 minutes per game last year. And it disqualified him from probably winning some awards or having some recognitions that he deserved defensively. This year, he won't have that problem. He won't have that problem this year. But we got to make sure that he can get through the season. And right now, whatever the Pistons medical staff is doing, I think that this is brilliant. Even the games that Cade missed, it was because he literally got knocked out the air and landed on his back. You know what I mean? Like, So I do believe that the medical staff this year, to start through this first third of the season, it's much better. Some of the things that used to really, really nag this Pistons team and these young players, it's not really there. And even Jaden Ivey, we see him out there playing and running around, coming back from an injury that took him out last January 1st, coming up on almost a year since that. So I applaud them, because in years past, I'm going to be real with you, it was a little bit concerning. It was a little bit bleak. The vets were always hurt. And I don't mean like knee-to-knee stuff. That's an injury. Like an actual not, that's not like a non-contact, or these players are getting bruised up over every little thing. Like, Jalen Duren's ankles are not the same issue through the first third of the season that they have been in previous seasons. Even Isaiah Stewart, he's out there and he's having an impact and playing more minutes this year than he did last year. So, I'm hoping that trend continues. Whatever they're doing health-wise, strength and conditioning-wise, definitely keep it up, because this team is not huffing and puffing as much as they were last year. Last year, Osar Thompson and Jalen Duren, bro, it looked like they could fill up a whole rain barrel based off how much they were sweating, huffing, puffing. And with Osar, I get it, because his offseason got taken in the first 25 games of the season. This year, they look ready for it. They do not look as tired at the end of games as they did last season. And I believe that these things are up on them. Their bodies look more fit. And I think that they should be able to take the wear and tear. But with Stu, I keep my fingers crossed, man. I do. I really do.
Yeah. I think the conditioning is definitely improved after, a lot of those players never witnessed a playoffs. And I know Trajan talked about it with Cade in particular, about like now he knows what it's like to play playoff basketball. We want him to focus on getting in better condition, so he's okay playing basketball into late April, May, possibly June. But I think my only pushback on the starting Stu conversation, because I see a lot of people ask it, is I just worry with the long NBA season and the way that man plays basketball. I love it, but I don't know if it's sustainable for 30 minutes a night. And because I could definitely see him getting injured within like a week or two, just because the rim protection, diving for loose balls, mixing it up down low in the post, like
starting against the opponent starters, the best bigs every single night, his minutes will be matched up with them rather than being able to pick and choose your spots to put them in. I mean, you're raising up some great points.
I mean, a lot of the games down the stretch, I mean, he's closing the games out, which I love, and I'm there for. I think a lot of fans just have questions long term about the power forward position, which who knows what to do at the deadline. Who knows if Tobias Harris is still kind of dealing with an ankle injury. I'm not making excuses for him, but he just kind of seems like his age this year. Like he seems like he's 33 years old, and we're the same age, and it's just like I feel him. Like I wake up with back pains every day. I wake up with swollen ankles from time to time. Hey man, I feel it. I feel like last year he really didn't look his age, man. He was doing such a good job defensively, especially rebounding the basketball. There were big games where he was scoring the basketball, but just seems like he's a little bit out of rhythm this season. I don't know if it's injuries. I don't know if it's just he's having a down year, but I think it's just a lot of fans just wondering like what the long-term power forward solution on this team is. It could be Isaiah Stewart, could be someone at the trade deadline, could be someone in free agency. You never really know.
Get me some size. That's what I'm talking about. Get size on this team, bro.
You get a 7-footer, please.
That's right.
Oh, that was
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, for sure. Before we do wrap up this podcast, I want to give you the floor to plug and promote where people can find your work. I know you do a hell of a lot of stuff behind the scenes, content-wise, writing. So you can tell the people that are watching live right now where they can find you and support you at.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you guys know I'm a beat reporter for Woodward Sports. So definitely you can start there. But me personally, at Detroit Kool-Aid on Instagram, at Detroit Kool-Aid on X. Tap in. I am going to be actually having some just giveaways and things. I've collected shirts over the years, posters, different giveaways, and I was like, when the Pistons are good, we're gonna just start giving these things away to the people. So definitely stay tapped in. I'll probably come on here, once a month, and we'll do a giveaway with Anthony and his audience, man, if he doesn't mind. But at Detroit Kool-Aid, and then Woodward Pistons. You guys see it right there, Woodward Pistons on YouTube. I'm working with my guys behind the scenes to get some content back up and jumping. And but this was fun. I appreciate you, man.
Well, I appreciate people waking up early, even though we did start a little bit later. We've got 600 people watching us right now at noon. This just kind of
Shout
shows
out to
you
the people.
that people are tapped in. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, we do appreciate you. We will see you guys next week when we do our post-game shows with the West Coast trip, which I am not looking forward to 3 a.m. post-game shows, but we're going to do it, man. We're going to do it. Appreciate all you guys. Hope you stay warm and spend time with your loved ones and family. But as always, go Pistons. Peace.
Hey, happy holidays.